and welcome to another episode of the APA Poolplayer Nation Podcast. I'm Becky Johnston. This is Jason Bowman. How is everybody?
I'm just fascinated by your hand movements there.
My hand, I know.
Hello,
Hello. I always use my hand movements.
That's good. You should
everything.
use your hand. It's an effective way to speak. I just had never really noticed until you were introducing the show here. But I'm good. How are you? It's
Doing
good to be
well.
back, right?
Doing well. Before we get started, we got to tell everybody, as usual, to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of our other platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of our other social channels. TikTok. Can't forget the TikTok.
Yep.
As long as it stays around.
Subscribe to them all.
Subscribe
There's a lot
to
of good stuff
all
out
of the
there.
places that are out there.
X, formerly Twitter.
Formerly
know.
Twitter, I know.
Should check out our Twitter, though. It's our goal this year is to grow our Twitter following. So our first goal is to get to 10,000. So go out there, find us on Twitter. It's APA Pool League, and give us a follow.
Go give us a follow on all of the different platforms.
For sure.
Yeah. So this is our first podcast of the year, 2025.
Is that right?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. First one of the year.
We've been slacking then because we're in mid-February.
I know, but it's the January. We're all
January
trying
was
to
a
get
doozy.
back to things.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've done a lot since then.
Yeah,
But
it's been a busy start to the year.
it has.
January was rough, though.
January was rough. We had a bunch of snow to kind of start out the year.
About a foot of snow here in St. Louis. I was
did.
sick the first about 10 days of
Yeah,
January.
you were. It's going around bad right now.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
January was kind of a rough month, but we're in February now.
Yeah.
And spring is right around the corner.
Let's hope.
Forget
Please
what that
say
groundhog
that it is.
had to say.
I know.
So far, he's looking pretty right, though.
He is looking right. We're forecasted to get some more snow here in St. Louis area, but we'll see what happens.
Well,
So.
hopefully the folks are tuning in from Florida and they're just feeling bad
They
for
got
us.
snow there too.
That's true. Florida, when you know it's a rough month when Florida's getting snow for sure.
Yeah, but hopefully, like you said, spring is coming soon, and as well as all of our, we're gearing up for all of the things that are coming in the spring.
Vegas not far off, really.
Vegas not far off, which
months
means
away.
like spring regionals are going to be coming up, which are qualifying players for Vegas. As well as, all the other stuff we've got coming up.
I feel like it never really stops anymore.
It doesn't
There's always something
ever.
around the corner, which is good. We like staying busy. And right now we got Valentine's Day around the corner, right?
Love is in the air, right?
It is in the air, I guess. I think so.
Yeah. It's what we've been seeing on social
Let's
media,
ask my
at
wife
least.
and see what she says.
Yeah.
She's going to say, what are your Valentine's Day plans?
You got plans, right?
I think my son has a baseball lesson that night.
Oh,
so
on that day?
That's a plan. I had cleared it with my wife before I scheduled it. So.
When you've got kids, that's kind of just par for the course.
Yeah.
It's just what happens.
I don't know. Do you do anything special for Valentine's Day?
No, we don't. Our anniversary is the 8th, and so we kind of...
Skip them both or what?
We don't skip them both. It's just they're so close together that, we
Okay.
kind of just
merge
them together.
Well,
It's like one thing.
That's better than what I'm doing. It's just not a whole lot.
Yeah, you got to do something. I mean,
I'll
you
pick
get
up
her
some
a
candy
little
or
something,
s-
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
kind of what we do too. It's not like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
But
I feel like
anyway,
anytime you go out on Valentine's Day now, it's like crazy expensive.
it is. It's crazy expensive and too crowded. I'm getting
Yeah.
old, right? When you're saying stuff
Bah
like that,
humbug.
though, right?
Becky Bah Humbug.
Yay, But we see so many. One cool thing for us about Valentine's Day, though, is we see so many cool stories of players who meet because of APA, which is so cool to see.
Yeah, a lot of folks out there. I mean, in fact, I met my wife through APA, sort
You
of.
did,
She works, obviously
yeah.
she works at APA, but that's how we met. And
Right.
so yeah, I always enjoy seeing the stories out there about how people, met through playing each other or,
Right.
whatever the circumstances. But there's a lot of them out there.
So many.
We'd have that whole have fun, meet people, play pool tagline, but that's that meet people thing that's legit. Like it's.
It is.
A lot of people meet that way. So
Yeah, and
good.
it's not even just about falling in love too. It's like you said, that people meet and have lifelong friendships because of the APA too.
Yeah.
Not just meeting their significant other, but
Right.
finding those lifelong friendships too.
Yep, it's good.
Yeah, but we did find a bunch of stories of this on social
You
media.
got some love stories?
Yeah, we
All
did, and
right.
we're gonna share some of those coming up here, but one in particular that we found was a really cool story. And you and I had a chance to catch up with them, a couple, Frank and Mindy Mialetti, and they were from the Philadelphia APA. This turned out to be a super cool story, so let's take a look at that interview. We are joined here today by Frank and Mindy Mialetti of the Philadelphia APA. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing good. So I hear that you guys kind of have a unique APA story, right?
You got an APA love story?
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day coming up, right? So kind of start out by tell us that story. Tell us how you guys met.
So we met in Vegas in 2019. We were both out there for the World Championship. And I was getting out of a marriage. I was going separated. And Mindy was getting out of a
long-term relationship.
And a mutual friend of ours was talking to them at the bar. And I came by and said hi to him and saw her and started talking. And she had mentioned something about being from New England, and I'm actually a Tom Brady fan. So I had said to her, I said, "Do you accept Tom Brady as your Lord and Savior?" She said, "Yeah." We started joking around. So I said to my friend, I said, "Let's go get these ladies a drink." So we'd go up to the bar, we buy them a drink, and I said, "Hey, that redhead is cute. Like, I'd like to go talk to her. If you want to talk to the brunette, I'm okay with that." He's like, "The brunette is my best friend's wife. I think I'm good there." So I said, "What about the redhead?" So we spent 4 or 5 days that week together.
Yeah,
we spent about 4 or 5 days that week together.
Yep.
I went back to Philadelphia, and she went back to New England, New Hampshire, to be specific. We stayed in touch, and then COVID happened. And throughout the entire COVID, I work for the Department of Transportation, so we were shut down. But she wasn't. Her state was open. So I basically spent probably 3-4 weeks. 2-3-4 weeks at a time. I'd come home for a little bit. I'd go back up. And we just haven't been apart since.
Nice.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah. Great Vegas story. Now, this is at the Westgate? This is at like the International Bar right there at the Westgate?
No,
where was it?
Lobby
bar at the
Westgate.
Lobby bar at the Westgate.
That's the International Bar,
Yeah.
the lobby bar at the Westgate, where
it's
everybody
funny,
that's been to Vegas knows that bar.
Right.
So that's great.
Yeah. And every year when we go out, we actually know what area we met each other. So we'll usually sit there and do a little toast to each other. And
Nice.
Very cool. So how did you make that long distance relationship work like that?
Yeah, how far is that? Like, for those that don't know the
It's a
geography.
6.5-hour drive. It's
Okay,
not even that bad.
Yeah, but
That's
that's you got to be committed to make that 6.5-hour drive.
Plane flight.
yeah, and during the COVID time when there was when I was taking a plane back and forth, I was getting a
$28 flights.
$28 plane flight back and forth.
It sure beats that 6.5-hour drive, I bet.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
cheaper
It was
than gas
great.
money.
Yeah, it was. It was cheaper than the toll across
But
New York.
Boston was only an hour for me, so he would tell me when he was lifting off, I would drive down to Boston and pick him up.
Nice. So, like, when you guys left Vegas, I mean, did you expect that this was gonna continue, or were you just like, hey, that was, it was nice meeting somebody from, I liked her, and
I didn't expect to hear from her again, to be honest with you. I thought it was just kind of
the Vegas
a
fling?
couple days you spend with a nice lady out in Vegas, and, it would just be a fun story to tell. Or maybe next year when I'm in Vegas, I'd see her again and be like, hey, you remember me?
Nice.
But I called him.
Oh, so how long did it take before you actually made the move? Before you actually moved to Philly? You moved to Philly, right? With him?
Yeah, I moved to Philly in July of 2020.
Once the world opened back up from COVID,
Yeah.
right? Once you
Not
got
really.
the
It was still kind of closed here in Philly.
Yeah, PA was still closed down. Her state was wide open. PA was still very much kind of a shutdown state.
Yeah, man, I remember those times too well.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I actually, during the time we were together, I bought a house, and then she was actually included in the plans of the house. I was showing her different houses that I was looking at, and she would help me essentially approve a house that I wanted to buy.
Had to have a bathtub.
And then you got married, right?
We did.
Yep.
Okay. What year did you guys get married?
2022.
2022. Okay.
September 4th.
September 4th. It was Labor Day weekend.
Was it an APA wedding?
Actually, yes, it was. There was.
Oh, really?
There was 100 people at our wedding, and I'd say probably only about 4 of them were not APA members.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty accurate.
Actually, my league operator, Jeff Duda, who was my best man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's very
Excellent.
cool.
Yeah, so let's get down to the real questions here. Like, so now that you guys are married and you're a couple, are you playing pool together now? Are you on the same team? Like, what's the Jack and Jill doubles situation look like there in Philly?
Well, I'm a 6 and he's a 7, so.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Yeah, so the Jack and Jill
So no
doesn't
Jack
happen.
and Jill for you
So
guys.
who coaches who on league night? Who when the timeout gets called? Who's coaching?
We actually do coach each other. You know, it's funny. You see a lot of husbands and wives where they can't learn from the husband, they can't learn from the wife. We actually don't have that issue. We are very, very much involved in pool. We actually have a lot of pro friends that we talk to, and we do some streaming and things like that. So we are exposed to a lot of pool. So we understand the nuances of timeouts and really kind of understanding each other when it comes to our games.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I could see, you know, especially a couple high-skilled players, you know, maybe butting heads a little bit here and there, but it sounds like you guys are able to.
Sometimes, I mean, we have a little bit of a different style, I would say, right?
Or I'll be like, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Nice. So how did you guys actually initially get involved playing? I mean, each of you, I'm sure your story's a little bit different there.
Go ahead, you first.
So my dad played for years. My dad was an APA 7. And when I turned 21, he was like, oh, now you got to play on my team. And I was like, oh, Dad, you don't want me. I'm terrible. He's like, no, it's perfect. I'll teach you. I was like, all right. And it's funny because his name is Frank also. So when I met Frank in Vegas and he told me his name, I was like, oh, my goodness, you got to be kidding me.
She also has a brother, Frank Jr., so I'm one of the 3 Franks in her life.
Oh, wow.
I am surrounded with Franks.
Nice.
My uncle, Fritz, actually got me into the APA, and my entire family plays. My father, my sister, my mother, they're all APA players. We were all, at one point, all together on a team, but our ranks are a little jumbled, so we had to kind of split our teams a little bit.
That's what's crazy to me about your story is like you guys are both high-skilled players. You guys both have like a pretty extensive APA kind of history separate from each other, and so for you guys to meet, carry on long-distance relationship, and eventually marry because you met at an APA event just seems somewhat poetic to me, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I feel like it was very serendipitous the year that we met. So I wasn't there with a team. I had actually won a free trip from my APA in New Hampshire. So like I wasn't even really supposed to be there. I won the free trip.
I wasn't there on the team either. I go out every year as the manager. I just kind of liaison with our teams, go out and support them. So neither one of us were actually playing.
Oh, wow.
We played a mini that year together.
We played a mini.
We played a doubles mini. We didn't do too well. There was some alcohol involved in that match.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. You won in the long run. You won in the long run.
That's
so
right.
I love this story.
I do
love
too.
This story.
It's so cool. What advice would you guys give to other couples who are looking for, you know, something to do together to get you encourage them to get out and play pool together maybe?
Oh.
Listen to your husband when he gives you timeout.
Oh.
No, you just have to have patience.
Yeah, I mean it's a learning game. It's always you're always gonna learn in pool, but if you respect each other and respect the game plus each other's opinions,
Oh yeah.
there can definitely be learning.
You have to be open-minded communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And could you guys have ever imagined? I mean, we have this tagline at APA, and you guys have been around a long time. I'm sure you've seen it. To have fun, meet people, play pool.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that in terms of the meeting people that
sometimes you meet the person?
I'll tell you, everything good, and it's going to sound kind of corny, but everything good in my life has come through APA. All my best friends, my wife.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything that I owe to the favorite hobby that I have has come through APA.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I love your guys' story. I'm happy that you shared it with us, that we kind of got to know you guys, and wish you guys a very happy Valentine's Day. And
thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to tell us this story again. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Super cute couple.
I know. Such a cool story, too.
I like how they had the matching shirts.
I know, the
red.
red.
Yeah, for Valentine's Day.
I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, too. It was
There's a lot of
though.
Franks in that story, though.
3 Franks.
Dad Frank, brother Frank, husband Frank.
I know.
Frankly, that's crazy.
See
what I did there?
It was good.
No, I really do love that story, though, just because, I mean, you hear obviously they met. What's crazy, too, is that they're both high-skilled players. Like,
Yeah.
you would think that sometimes high-skilled players seem to, like, butt heads a little
Right.
bit, but they seem to work it out. But I just, we so often hear stories about people that met through the league somehow, and just, kind of the randomness of their story. Like, she just happens to be in Vegas. She's not even on a team out there. He just happens to be there. And, I wish there was a way we could, like, quantify how many people have met through APA, or, or even at the Westgate bar there. How many people
Right.
But I do love hearing those stories. And I know for the people that wonder, like, how we find out about these stories, it's all driven generally through our social media. We're like,
For the most part, yeah.
So when you see a message out there that says, hey, tell us your story about this or that, this is where we're generating these stories. So make sure that you respond to these and tell us, because there's a ton of great stories out there.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not about meeting people. I mean, that's how we met the veteran that we talked to back in November, and his great story. And, there's a ton of great stories about our people out there. And I love hearing them because, one of the things I like to tell people is, people say, why have you been at APA so long? What do you like about APA? And my favorite thing, or the thing that I most often tell them, is that, I feel like APA makes the world a better place, in a time when people are so divided on just about everything anymore. It's a place where people can really come together. People that maybe wouldn't necessarily come together typically, and they're all coming together and they're enjoying the same thing, and there's commonality there. And so I just think it's one of the things that makes APA so special. And as we get into the month of February and Valentine's Day, hearing the stories about the couples that meet just kind of adds to that, right?
Yeah. Do you want to read a couple more of those stories then?
You got some more?
Yeah, we've got some more of them. Yeah, we had some, like you said, we solicited these stories on social media, so I thought that we would, we shared. That one was a really cool story, obviously, but I thought that we'd share a couple more of those while we were at it. So do you want to go ahead and read the first one?
The first one's mine.
Yeah.
This is from Andrew Tamez.
Sure.
Tamez. He said, Tina Lopez and I had originally met as opponents. I spotted her, and over a few sessions after I first met her, I asked her teammates about her. And then I began talking and approaching her during league until she posted about needing teammates for a new team. Fast forward to now, and we are expecting a baby boy. So I feel like we cut through a big part of the story there.
I know.
Seemed a little on the, I started talking and approaching, and but Tina was receptive, and now they got a baby boy. So that is... that's a cool story, for sure.
Yeah, that one was cute. They actually posted a picture in that, too. We could only put one photo up with it. But of their gender reveal, they did, like, a little
Pool-related gender reveal?
Yeah, for their
Nice.
gender thing, too.
What was that, like a cue ball that breaks into blue? Or?
No, I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had, like, a onesie, and it had some, like, cute, like, pool stuff around it, too.
I feel like we did a pool gender reveal, like,
we
several years ago, didn't we? In Louisville with the Hex?
With the Hex, they did one.
And Jesse Hex.
And Florian was there for it, and I think he like threw the. I don't think it was on the table.
I don't think they would let him do it on the table because of the stuff was going to fly all over.
I think he threw the balls at the wall or something like that.
Okay. I remember it. It's been a few years now, but I'm sure there's probably been some other gender reveals.
Those kids, I think, are like in school now, if I remember correctly. It's been a while.
They're driving now.
Yeah, they're driving now.
I don't think they're quite that
They have their
old,
driver's license. No, but I think that they're like
in a minute, for sure.
In school now. Yeah, that was a cool one. But
All right, tell us another love story.
Okay, so this one was Brandon Zabrowski. We'll just say Zabrowski. Spring session of 2019. First time I seen Jamie King. We were playing at Critters. She was sitting at the bar smoking cigarettes in a blue hoodie. bartending that night, if I remember correctly. We played each other and I beat her 3-0. Now we move to the final week of the session. My team is in first place. Jamie's team is not far behind, and we're playing them. They are kicking our butts, and it comes down to the final match. Me versus Jamie for all the marbles. And she doesn't give me a chance, smokes me 3-0 like it's nothing for her team to make first place from us that session. Then she bought me a shot and asked if I wanted to stay and practice. 6 years later, we're going to Vegas for doubles. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Very nice. I like how he remembered that she was wearing a blue hoodie.
That's
I mean,
that's
you're
pretty
talking 6 years ago.
Right.
Speaking of 2019, that's 2 love stories from 2019.
Huh?
Love was in the air that spring, I guess.
Yeah, right before
that year.
Right before
the
COVID.
world changed.
Right before the world changed.
I like how he remembered she was in a blue hoodie. You can tell that he has that memory ingrained in his.
It is very much remembered when he saw her. Yeah.
Nice. That's a nice story. So our next one comes from Ginger. She said, we met when I joined his team for just one session in 2001. I stayed on the team and we got married in 2005, celebrating number 20 this coming July. They've made it to Vegas a good number of times. They even placed 5th in 2013, and their daughter played in the junior championships in 2018.
Aww.
So nice APA family there, which
very
is
cool.
Pretty cool to see.
Last one we have here from Christina. Barbosa, I'm guessing his name's Anthony, and I didn't know each other, but played in the same area of Texas. A friend of ours paired us in a Jack and Jill tournament that we did very well in. When continued for several months as friends, my daughter and I joined his Double Jeopardy team. After a couple months, we decided we were in love and inseparable. Here we are 4 years later, still playing, loving it in our RV life. Kind of cool.
In our RV life?
Yeah, so they're, I guess, living their RV life.
Is that like in the RV?
I don't know if they're living in the RV or if they're just like, doing the, like, traveling around in their RV.
I'd like
I
to
don't
know more about that. You should have
Yeah.
asked some follow-up questions on the RV life.
Yeah.
I've always found that a little, like, intriguing, the idea of just kind of being a nomad. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do it for very long.
I
But
don't know
it would be
that I
kind of
could,
cool
but
for, like, a month or two to just
Right.
kind of travel around. Although it'd be hard to play in League if you're in the RV, doing the RV life.
True. So I'm guessing maybe it's just like a, I don't know. I'll have to go ask
follow-up
them. I'll have to go
report on that.
follow
Maybe the
up.
next podcast
Or
will
let
tell
us
you about
know.
the RV life.
Let us know if you're watching this.
Christina and
Let's know,
Anthony.
Christina and Anthony. Are you just like vacationing in your RV, or are you like going around in your RV?
So
like,
they got
living in your
paired up
RV?
in Jack and Jill, right? That's what you said?
That's what
They
it
got
sounds
paired up
like.
in
Yeah, they
Jack
got
and Jill doubles,
paired up in Jack and Jill.
And then they ended up becoming a couple.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting, too. Anytime we got, like, in Vegas, we got the Jack and Jill doubles.
Yeah.
You never really know, like, are they a couple?
No, we
Are they
always
just
have
a
to kinda
couple of
guess.
people that just know each
Right.
other. Like, you never really know unless they have the same last name, and then it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
Or if
unless
they're,
it's
like,
brother
kissing
and
after each
sister.
shot, then they're probably not brother and sister.
Yeah,
You know,
we usually
they
have to kind of
high-five
guess
if they're brother and
based
sister.
on like
Body language.
body language type of thing.
Yeah. A lot of couples, though.
There
I think
are.
it's a lot of couples.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few couples that have been in that
Nice.
before. Yeah. Very
So
cool.
those are our love stories?
Those
We got
are our
any
love
more?
stories. That's
I know
our
there's a lot more out
Valentine
there, but
segment.
yeah.
There's so many out there.
Yeah.
We've posted a couple things on social lately that have gotten lots of
Nice. Well, we appreciate all the
that kind
folks
of
that took the
attention.
time to
Yeah.
kind of fill us in on their love story. That's always nice to hear. And I know it's, and if you don't have someone for Valentine's Day, better get to the pool room, because that's where
out
the
there.
love. That's where the love is to be found,
Get
at the
out
pool
there.
room. And worst case, you play pool that night. So,
Or if you're not, like, come join the APA and
Yeah.
maybe you'll find your match.
Yeah.
Your perfect combination.
oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You're quite the heartbreaker.
We got all the.
All right. What's our next topic? on the
Okay,
show
next
today?
topic. Well, we can't go through an episode without talking tournaments, right?
Yeah. What tournament
Tournaments.
you wanna
I
talk
think we'll talk about the one that has been of topic this year so far has been the U.S. Amateur Championship. I know we've got some changes coming this year. The event's moving. It's on the move this year.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion. That was part of the early January things that
Right.
were going on,
Right.
right? So the last few years, I should go back to 2009, the U.S. Amateur Championship moved from Atlanta to Tampa, the Tampa area,
Right.
and was held there up until 2022 was our last year there at Strokers, which is a great pool room
Great
if you've ever been
room.
to Tampa.
Yes.
Make sure you pop into Strokers. But we decided we want to take it out of a pool room and put it into a hotel convention space so everybody could kind of be on property and, go to your room between matches and not have to drive across town and any of that stuff. And so that made a lot of sense, right? Kind of like we do our other events. But it's been a little bit of a challenge. That first year we were at the 2023, we were at the Wyndham there in Orlando. And then we were at the Hyatt last year when the Wyndham closed. And so we were kind of looking for a new home after the Wyndham. Well, we considered the Wyndham, but, and I know we're going to hear from Bill here, and he'll kind of fill us in. But it's been a little bit of a move around type of situation. And so what we did is we asked Bill Tufts, our director of tournament productions, to come on the show just to talk a little bit, because I know a lot of times we put out news. We tell people kind of what the news is. We don't necessarily always fill them in on all the elements that go into the decision making. Sure. Sometimes you just can't really do that, and sometimes people don't want to read all that. So, but Bill was kind enough to come on and talk a little bit about some of the changes coming with USAM and why those changes were necessary. So let's go ahead and roll his interview, and then we can talk a little bit more about it.
All right, we are joined now by Bill Tufts, Director of Tournament Productions with APA. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing well, Becky. How are you?
We're doing good.
Jason, too.
What's up? What's up?
Not much. Just doing tournament things.
Yeah?
I bet.
Yeah, you guys caught me here in my office. Yeah.
Yeah, we heard that you're taking us back to Vegas.
I am for third time of the year. Yes, I am.
Third time's a charm.
Third time is a charm.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, it was probably about a month ago that the news came out. The U.S. Amateur Championship will be heading to Las Vegas for the first time in like a quarter century, believe it or not, 1999.
Wow.
A little scary to think that was a quarter century ago.
That's actually
if you didn't feel old before this podcast, you feel old now. But the U.S. Amateur Championship going back to Las Vegas, and so we thought we'd have Bill on the podcast to talk a little bit about what led up to that big move and what players can expect. So, Bill, it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we were in Strokers in the Tampa area, and we had been there for well over a decade. But after that year, APA made the announcement that they were taking the U.S. Amateur Championship out of a pool room where it had always been throughout its history, and putting it into a hotel convention space for the first time. And I know, some of the reasons for that were to get everything under one roof, player convenience, and that kind of thing. Also kind of dress up the room a little bit more. But if you can, just kind of pick up from that point on where the event has been and kind of why it's bounced around these last couple of years.
Sure. Yeah, to speak to your point, we actually did want to take it out of the pool room, not because, strokers, there were any issues with strokers. It's a pool room, and it's limiting in what you can produce. And considering the prestige of this event, what we're asking of players, to get a trophy, basically, and to play for the pride of the game, we felt that the event, we could elevate it further. So we started our search prior to the 22 event. We ended up finding a home at the Wyndham, Orlando, and that year was great. It was the first time we moved in.
And that was 2023.
Yeah, that was
now,
2023. Right? Yes, that was 2023. And aside from maybe an air conditioner that was running a little bit too much, I think the event was overall a net positive for everybody, and they loved the changes that we did to it. So we had all the intent in the world of going back to the Wyndham. As a matter of fact, we were in full planning for going back to the Wyndham in 24. That would change. Actually, the opening day of our Pool Player Championships, we're kicking the doors open. We're letting all of those players in for the first time. For that event, we got the news that the Wyndham was shutting down. So that was right before my shift, kind of kept it to myself, and then eventually it broke on the news, so later that day we were addressing it full scale, but the search was on again for another home. Fortunately for us, the Wyndham actually put us in touch with the Hyatt Regency down in Orlando. It's just down the street from where the Wyndham was. And we were able to negotiate a deal based on our prior deal at the Wyndham. And this was kind of a gesture from the Wyndham and the Hyatt of we were in a tough spot. We didn't have a lot of time, and we needed a home. So we ran the event there. I think that it was very impressive space. for everyone. Great event. Everything went off without a hitch. But there were some drawbacks to that particular location long term. And I think for anybody that actually did experience it, I heard more comments from people about whether or not we would be back there, and it mostly centered around pricing. Right. That was as true for the players and their experience with just the food purchasing options and things like that were actually available at the hotel, as it was for us whenever we're looking at a setup. And of course, the Hyatt had a huge say in whether or not we would return. They've got to look at their business model, what works for them. And essentially, the prices were just too far apart for this event, for the scope that it is. And as much as we want to elevate this event, it was just going to be, it wasn't going to be feasible to keep it there long term.
Yeah, the Hyatt, having been there myself, was certainly a beautiful facility, but you could quickly tell that, that type of facility comes with some big price tags. And as you mentioned, it's not just about the food and beverage costs for the players. I'm sure, I think we had to negotiate on parking rates, and then you start talking about the rental of the convention space and hotel rooms, and it I'm sure it quickly got very, very, very pricey for a program that, the U.S. Amateur Championship, very prestigious, but it's also a fairly intimate program, in terms of the size, right? You've got 28 players in the open division.
Right.
You've got 35 or 40 in the women's division. So it's not a huge amount of people. But that said, you're still talking about a pretty intensive setup time, right, Bill?
Yeah.
For a small event?
For a small event, what we're setting there, it takes some time. I think our total set days were probably 3.5 if you gave it, full time. Most of that is the rigging. So one thing that we pride ourselves on at APA is providing pool table lights. And it seems like a simple thing, right? Pool table needs a light, hang a light. That most times, more often than not, that's the most expensive thing that we can do. But it's not something that we're going to shy away from. We're not going to produce an event that doesn't have them, especially not one of prestige, not one that carries this kind of weight, right?
Yeah.
Really any of them. But, that's just not palatable. So when you're working out these deals, it's not just the hotel, but you are working with AV partners. You've got to come to terms with them and what their pricing is. And different venues have different structures for who you're dealing with and who they actually have doing this work. I will say all the partners at the Hyatt were great. They were great. I will say that particular property, though, with the types of events that they're getting, which are much larger scale, they probably, a lot of the talking I had with them, their events, while they're not pool events, they would average like the size of our pool player championships, or somewhere between there and up above even our world pool championships as far as people go. And one thing about Orlando that was quickly apparent is you don't have like the casino as a component to us selling our event. I mean, I don't want to say that our people gamble, but some of our people gamble, right?
Sure.
And the casino floor definitely helps offset some costs because they see that influx. So when we're looking at an event that has less than 160 people, and you've got to do the food and beverage and stuff, we just weren't going to meet those ends, and the price eventually would have went down to the players.
I was going to say, to put it in perspective too, I mean, this is a place in Orlando, like you're talking about like Disney World, like right up the road, right?
Yeah.
So those are the type of things that we're talking about here.
Yeah, they were talking to me about volleyball tournaments, that are 30,000
right.
people. They don't have to do any setup. They're just selling food to them, and the USAM's not going to do that kind of business.
Yeah. So as kind of the days, faded from the calendar for 2024, I mean, I know we typically start the entry window opens for the U.S. Amateur Championship with the existing year's event. I know we had to delay that because we weren't certain on where this event was going in 2025. But, how did we go from, knowing that the existing facility wasn't going to work to landing at the Westgate in Las Vegas?
Well, knowing the search that it took us to find the USAM and all of the different hotels that we actually reached out to prior to even landing at the window back, in 23, we knew that the search might not be quick. And we were nearing the end of the year, and we recognized that it puts us in a hole for people who want to sign up for the event. They don't know where they're going to sign up for. They're kind of signing up on hope or just signing up for their prelim. We could spend months looking for a place that's better, not find one, right? I mean, that's just the reality. We might not find a fit. We certainly didn't, while a lot of places may be, maybe a slight step down from the Hyatt Regency, we certainly didn't think that our partners at Westgate were that at all. So we knew that going in, and we didn't want the event to take a step backwards. We liked where the event's at. We just want to make sure we keep it affordable for what it is. And I think all of that kind of led us back to, we've got a great partner. Yes, it does change the location quite dramatically for an event that's typically been on the East Coast. And we're cognizant of all of that, but we thought that by making the move, by making the decision, we give some clarity and some certainty to the people out there that want to sign up, or now maybe don't want to sign up. Hopefully there aren't too many of those. But it also allows us the time to continue to look for other venues in the future without having that pressure of, we've got to find something. We've got to find something because, the clock's ticking. Right now, yes, the clock's ticking, but we've got a lot of lead time, and where that goes, we're not sure. We're going to find the right partners for us, and the right partners for, really the right venue for our players.
Right.
Because as you said, we haven't been to Vegas since before my time at APA.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's a situation where you're kind of caught between the rock and the hard place, right? Like, but I assume we're fortunate that the Westgate, because again, when you're only talking about a matter of months before an event, the fact that they had availability is a great thing for us. But I got to assume too that there's some, from your perspective, some comfort level when it comes to setup. I know when you go to a new place, it's got to be a little challenging if they've never had a pool tournament, they've never hung pool table lights. The Westgate's obviously very familiar with what we do and how we do it. So that I assume that brings some comfort from your perspective.
Absolutely, and they know the pool players too. They know our customers intimately. I know that a lot of the guys that compete a lot of the guys and women that compete in the U.S. Amateur have been to the Westgate before, and I know that is something that, again, we were cognizant of, that people do go to this place. But with those trips, with that familiarity, they don't just know what we want on our side and what we're going to do and what we execute, how we do it, but they also know what our players want when it comes to them. So we are able to negotiate better with them because they know what we are. As far as getting them up to speed, there's no getting them up to speed on the particular program. Everything moves faster, and they provide just a great environment that really provides, still Vegas, there's still a ton to do too. So, there's a lot that goes into these searches, but the Westgate, there's a reason why we're there. There's a reason why we take the bigger events to Vegas too. The town itself offers quite a bit. I just want to say, when we're looking for these places, it's not just, do we have a space that's got enough room for tables? And Jason, Becky, you guys know this very well. We're looking for proximity to airports, entertainment options outside of the tournament, right? What does the venue have as far as what they provide to people, entertainment, food, that type of thing? And then we get into the weeds of, how are we going to hang pool table lights? What do those costs look like? How do we get tables there? All of that stuff. And with the Westgate, it really does provide that security that we know we can execute the events there. We know that there are going to be great events there. The one question we have is, what does Vegas look like after 25 years, 26 years of not being there for the USAM? And by having an additional year with this tournament, that gives us the time to evaluate that too, and to see where we're at, and if there's anything needed. Meanwhile, looking for other places that might be just as good, but maybe a little bit closer to home for a lot of our players.
Yeah, when you're talking about cities like Tampa, Orlando, Las Vegas, those are premier destinations from globally, not just in the United States. And you see like Super Bowls and big events that go to places like these. It's a little challenging to try to best that one, I'm assuming, when you're looking for a location. But you kind of alluded to the fact that this is going to give us a little bit more time to look at some other options in the future, at least. So I'm curious, is this a 1 year? Is this potentially a little bit longer? Do we know like what after 2025? What at least and I realize maybe you don't have the answer now, but like what potentially could this look like?
Well, what we'd like to do is get some stability to the event. So we are already looking at 26. That allows us again the opportunity to continue looking for places that fit all the criteria we're looking for, if not the Westgate. But it also provides us the opportunity to see what worked, what didn't. And in this regard, I mean, the USAM, and I don't want to shy away from the point that USAM's always been kind of an event where wherever it's at, that's where you're going to get most of your signups. It's just the nature of the beast. So knowing that we're moving it to the West Coast away from where the majority of our base has been, that comes with some considerations, like what does this do to participation? Do we still see that? Are we still getting that same enthusiasm for the event? Married with the fact that, we are in Vegas, twice already, and a lot of the players that compete in this event go to those events too. So by trying to get that additional year, it allows us to evaluate and then maybe try to see what we can do to affect change if we need to, right? It also tests just the general idea of if we don't know where we're going to ultimately find a perfect place, and it may be on the West Coast, it may be in Vegas, it could be anywhere. What are those challenges whenever you move an event that's traditionally been held in one area to another area? If you just moved there for the 1 year, you wouldn't even know, right? You wouldn't necessarily know what you could have done to have affected anything regarding that if you just take it back somewhere else. And in the future, further down the road, you might find yourself in a situation where, you're looking again and you're going into the unknown again. And that's just something that I think from my point of view and a lot up here, we just, we've been doing that. We've been doing that while keeping it in the Southeast, but trying to find that perfect home and knowing that it's not a given. It's not a given that you're going to find the right place. And when you think you do, sometimes they tear it down. So just providing stability, letting people wrap their brains around it, seeing where we're at, evaluating, and knowing that we've got a great partner that we could continue on with, or we could pivot. Kind of gives us an opportunity to do all of that without having that pressure of we've just got to make a decision now because the event needs to happen within 2 months or 3 months like we did the last time. Not through any fault of our own, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it sounds like we'll have to stay tuned to see what the future holds, but I think the good news and the takeaway here is that we do have a very solid partner in a place that we are comfortable hosting the event for 2025, potentially longer if necessary, but that the doors sounds like it's open for the future, and we'll see where we land. So, Bill, we appreciate you taking the time to kind of fill everybody in just on the decision making that kind of went into this move, and I think people appreciate kind of understanding the challenges that we face and why we make the decisions we do. So appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon, bud.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
Bill.
See ya. Yeah, so some good insight there.
Yeah.
I think that maybe players or members don't normally get as to some of the challenges we have when it comes to finding a home for different events, and like we talked about there with the U.S. Amateur Championship, it's such an intimate event.
It is.
There's not a lot. It's kind of an exclusive event. The numbers are relatively small.
Yeah,
and
much
so
smaller than.
When you combine that with everything that has to go into the setup of the U.S. Amateur Championship, which is very much on par with the bigger events, it does make it a really big challenge to identify locations that work well. And I love Florida. It's my favorite place to be, but. If that's not an option, Vegas is not a bad second.
Not a bad alternative.
Yeah, not really. I mean, look, you and I have spent our fair share of time in Las Vegas.
We
so
have.
It's not like I don't understand where people are coming from and they say, why are you going back to Vegas? But you start to kind of understand some of the challenges that were there for this year's U.S. Amateur Championship. And I mean, if you read between the lines there, it sounds like it could potentially be there again next year. I don't think that he was necessarily saying that definitively there yet, but. Did hear him talk about wanting to find some stability while they try to identify, because we were in such a great home for so long there in Tampa that ideally you'd find another good home. And I know they'd like to keep it on the East Coast. But again, you got to find a facility. It's got to have availability. They got to be able to hang pool table lights. Interesting there to hear him talk about the challenge of pool table lights and how that's generally the number one, factor in terms of cost, and can a location do it? Is the ceiling appropriate to be able to hang all these lights? And I know there are pool tournaments out there that don't use pool table lights, but at least at the national level for APA, that's not us. I don't
especially
think.
For this kind of tournament, the nation's most prestigious amateur tournament.
Got to have the pool table lights.
Not where we want to be. Yeah, exactly.
So, but it was nice of him to spend the time kind of talking us through that. I know when we put that news out there, we heard a little bit on social media.
We did.
It was, I think that was on maybe like a Thursday. I spent much of the next day responding to people on the. I felt like
you guys were not afraid to. Let us know your concerns.
You guys know when something's on social media, it's most likely Becky or I is the person that you're responding with. So be nice to us.
Most likely.
Nice to us.
It is usually,
Be
not
nice.
Usually. It most definitely is.
Yeah.
So
be nice to us.
Yes, be nice to us. It's
Sometimes people aren't very nice. Huh?
Some people are not nice.
We need to do a show where people like just go blast us on social media. I think people.
I'm gonna
really
read some of the
that.
comments.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read some of your guys' comments out loud on here, and then say,
you know
that
surprised.
I'm the one that you're talking to when you're saying these comments, right?
You guys would be sending Becky flowers and chocolate, and you'd be feeling so bad for her. But I feel like after we put that news out and we saw some of the comments, like I did really try to go through and answer almost every single comment.
You did.
And just give them a little more perspective. And I think after we did that, people kind of started to understand and appreciate the challenges that go with that. And again, like we talked about with Bill, I mean, would I like to go somewhere besides Vegas for a third time? Maybe. But, the Westgate is a really solid home because they know our members. They know how we need to set a pool tournament. And each time you go to a new place that's never done a pool tournament, there are some real challenges there sometimes.
Sure.
And so there's certainly some comfort there knowing that they know what we need and they'll make sure that we have it. So anyway, we'll be back in November. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to Vegas in November, so that'll be different.
No, we went in December.
Been there in December. It gets cold out there in December.
It was the time we went in December. It was chilly.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it'd only be like in the maybe 40s, but with the wind and stuff, it gets cold out there.
It should be interesting. It'll be much different than the months that we're usually there. Although when
I'm
we're there in
nice.
April, sometimes it can be a little
cool.
chilly in April. So
hot or cold there. So, but that's what's going on with the U.S. Amateur Championship. Hopefully, if that's an event that you try to qualify for each year, come see us in
registration
Vegas.
is open now.
It is open now. You can do that through the
now.
website right now, poolplayers.com. You go to the U.S. Amateur Championship section and you join, and you'll compete in a preliminary round in September.
September is when the prelims are held. That registration is open until June 15th of this year.
Okay.
So you do have some time, but if you want to get into the location of your choice, I encourage you to enter early.
For sure. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's wrap things up today with the home pool room segment that we kind of started a few months ago. I like this segment. I think it's fun to showcase some of the pool rooms that you guys submit to us online. So we'll go ahead and show a couple of those. These are home pool rooms that you guys submit to us. The first one coming from Bart Jennings. This is a nice little basement room.
Is that a home?
Like here. Yeah.
I feel like that looks like a bar.
He says that this is his, he submitted this on Instagram. He said this is his,
Really?
His basement and his home pool room. He says this is his sanctuary.
Yeah, he's got the bar vibe kicking there. He's got the diamond table, but I mean, that looks like a bar. It looks like he's got some video games in the back there, and is that Fort Worth Billiards? So this is a Texas guy here, I'm assuming.
Must be a Texas guy.
Nice setup there.
Yeah, it's got a very nice setup.
That's a basement because I see the support post there in the middle. So yeah, that's definitely, he's got the bar vibe kicking there with the seating and the neon and everything.
I think the word he used, if I remember correctly, was this is like his sanctuary in his basement. So he definitely has it going.
Wow.
Yeah, he said John Nicolaides, I don't know if I said that right. He said that he restored this 100-year-old pool table.
Okay. That kind of fits the vibe in that room, too.
Here.
It's got a very
sure.
kind of antique room look to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know what kind of table that is. Did he happen to say what kind of?
No, he didn't say the type of
100-year-old
table that it
table.
was, but he said it was a 100-year-old restored table.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
1925
Uh-huh.
or thereabouts.
This one was Christy Highland submitted this one.
Another diamond table.
Kind of,
look at
yeah,
that.
another diamond table here, but kind of got the little, what do you call it, like farmhousey?
I'd say more like the hunting cabin
Hunting
vibe.
cabin,
you got
yeah,
about
hunting
17
cabin.
deer heads on the wall there.
Vibe going there, but
Yeah.
like the ceiling she's got going there. And
Yeah.
no, we featured that one on our Facebook page this week, I think, or last week, one or the other.
Wow. That's somebody's home too?
Yeah, he said
Holy
that he's
cow.
got 2 pool tables there. Ed Vickers submitted this one. He
Look at
said
that
2's better
place.
than 1.
Yeah. And he's got some nice, I wonder what kind of tables those are, but that's,
A
you got
little
some
more
stained
like
glass in the
antique-y looking.
background there, and that's something else there.
Mhm. Pretty cool.
Whoa.
And then the last one we've got Gary Simon. He said this is from inside his pole barn.
What?
Yeah.
Looks like a rock concert like
I
stage
know, right?
there.
This is this one's pretty legit too. Inside his pole barn, he said he turned it into like their pool team is called the Pocket Pounders. I don't know how you feel about that pool name.
I don't know if that
team
one gets
name.
by the. Does that
The
get by the team name committee?
I don't know
Pocket
that
Pounders?
gets. I don't know that one gets through to
It's
Vegas.
one of those that gets changed in Vegas, but that's all right. I'm just impressed. I mean, it looks like some kind of stage back there with like a set of drums. He's got the smoke. How often
Yeah.
do you think he's firing off the smoke in there?
I don't know. That might have been just for the picture. But
I will say it's a pretty cool picture.
it is
though.
very cool. On the other side, they had a bunch of tables and stuff. He had another picture.
Is that somebody peeking over the table there? What
I
is
don't
that?
know what that.
Like an alien or something back there. Or somebody with a pumpkin on their head. I can't tell what that is.
I couldn't tell what that is, but you guys submit some pretty
Where's
cool
that at?
stuff.
Where's this room at?
I don't remember where it was at
Pocket
now.
Pounders. Where are you guys playing out of? That's
They had a YouTube channel too.
man,
Mm-hmm.
that place is something. You said that's a pole barn?
Yeah, it was a pole barn.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it looks like a music venue.
I want to say like Indiana, but I could very well be wrong about that.
They know how to do their pole
something in
barns up there
yeah.
in Indiana, I guess.
I very well could be wrong about that, though. I see a lot of stuff on social media, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Man, we got some.
yeah, we
members
got
with
some really
pretty
cool
fancy
ones
pool
this
rooms.
month.
Surprised they go out to league play if they got a room like that at home.
I know, right?
Maybe they just bring everybody over there.
Maybe.
We're playing at my house tonight. Come on over.
They
I could
might.
see that getting a little.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you got to get out of your own
Yeah.
house sometimes
Yeah,
too,
you guys
right?
need to get out of here now. Let's go. I got to work in the morning. Home by 11.
Home by
Home by. Remember
Harry the Pool Fairy. Actually, that has been posted on our social this week. So
Harry the Pool Fairy?
yeah, so if you
Nice.
haven't seen that, go watch it on our Facebook page.
Harry the Pool Fairy. Maybe
If
we need
your
to bring
team
him on
has
the
trouble,
podcast.
that's an
Harry the
idea.
Pool Fairy.
That's an idea.
Okay.
That's an idea. And maybe we'll have to do that soon.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nice.
We're coming. Harry the Pool Fairy, if you're watching this.
We're coming,
coming
for
for
you.
you.
You know what
Yeah.
else I was thinking about today? Like, what is it, February 25? We are like 10 years from the Riviera closing. Like
Oh,
the 10-year
wow.
anniversary of that. Can you believe that's been 10 years?
No, that's really
I feel
hard
like
to
it was this
believe.
month, like 10 years ago, that we started
When
getting
we
the
found
news, and
out.
We'll have to do some storytelling on that sometime. That was an interesting deal, kind of behind the scenes, kind of finding out.
That's-
because people didn't know and trying to be ready to let people, because we knew people were going to freak out when they found out the Riviera was closing. And
It was hard to believe.
You know.
Man, we're getting old.
10 years at the
That's
Westgate
crazy.
now. 10 years at the Westgate now. So,
Wow.
story for another day,
Yeah.
another episode.
Yeah, we can talk, man. We'll talk about that in our April podcast.
Okay. Is that our next one?
No.
Oh.
Well,
What are we going to talk about in March?
February, March. Oh, we'll
I'd
figure
love
it
to know
out.
what our viewers would love to hear us talk about.
Yeah,
What would
tell
you-
us what you guys want to
what
hear.
you guys want to hear.
What do you guys want to hear us talk about? Tell us. Let us know.
It's got to be appropriate, though. It can't be like just anything. It could be close, though. We
Yeah,
got a little more leeway on this show.
we do. It's a podcast, so
I mean, I feel like there's no censors here, so we might get in trouble when we get back to the
nobody's
office.
here,
yeah.
but Greg might
Let it fly, huh?
like have something to say about it afterwards.
Let us know what
I
you guys
guess.
want to hear about on the podcast. Love to storytell, though. I'd love to
If
feature
there's
our
people you'd
members.
want us to bring on here to
Yeah.
talk to, let us know.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think that's all we've got for today.
It's a wrap.
We still didn't come up with some kind of like exit.
Sign off.
Yeah, sign off. But maybe
We'll
we'll
work
come up
on
with
it.
something eventually.
We'll work on it.
All right, guys. Well, till next time.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah.
Adios.
Bye.